Congratulations, middle school class of 2021. We will truly miss you.
Welcome to what will hopefully go down as one of, if not the, greatest and most incredible episodes of Life According to a Middle Schooler. What you just heard was the official ending of my 3-year career as a middle schooler. That's right. After 3 school years, after 540 days, and after over 12 million seconds, the title Life According to a Middle Schooler is no longer accurate. It's really hard to say how I feel about this. Middle school consisted of some of the hardest times of my life. Having to start all over socially when I moved to a new school, trying to fit in, and lots of tough times outside of school, and of course, getting introduced to life in a global pandemic. But middle school was also home to my greatest memories and experiences. Finally being challenged educationally, meeting people and making friends that didn't bully me for being a nerd, and of course, starting this podcast. I don't know whether I'm happy or sad that this period of my life is over. My original plan was to do an episode about some random topic last week, and then do a really short episode about how I was done with middle school this week. But that's not how we do it here on the Life According to a Middle Schooler podcast. Instead, for the past month and a half, I've been planning a massive 30 to 45 minute episode wrapping up the last 3 years of my life. But instead of just ranting about a bunch of stuff that you guys don't really care about, I brought in 8 of my classmates onto the show and asked them a bunch of different questions about their experience with middle school. And if you are one of the 3 people that actually want to hear me rant about a bunch of stuff, I'll probably be making some short remarks about my personal experience as well as the future of the podcast at the end of the episode. That's right, I'm not giving up on this podcast just because the name doesn't really apply anymore. So, without further ado, let's listen to some responses that we got to the many questions that I asked. Question number 1. How would you sum up your experience in middle school in 10 words or less?
A stressful place that does help you grow.
Trying our hardest to do my best.
Or fail.
So that's great.
I would describe it as fun, stressful, challenging, amazing, boring, friendships, sad, short, active, and virtual.
Summing up my middle school experience in 10 words. I've been given a difficult job. Well, I'd say, to start us off, exciting, fun, new, adventurous. It was like an emotional roller coaster at some times for me and other people. And I'd say it was like a ticking time bomb, Something could just happen and the entire grade would just be all over it. If someone needed help in a particular situation, sometimes the entire grade comes to back them up. We had our moments where the grade was split in half, arguing over things, but in the end, I really had a very fun experience. Yeah.
Let's see. Exciting, half dramatic, definitely memorable, ever-changing, choppy, and very busy.
Question 2. How can you best describe your transition from elementary school into middle school?
I came to our middle school in 7th grade. Most people came in 6th grade, but I came in 7th, so it was a little bit harder for me because there were less new kids. But as a person with a very outgoing personality, I made lots of friends very quickly, and some of them I'm still very close with. But it wasn't super easy, especially with the education standpoint.
Not that much different. I think all those movies about coming from elementary to middle school are lying, and it was mostly just the same people in a different place.
My transition from a Catholic elementary school to a independent private school was very hard and stressful because I also moved houses at the same time.
Well, my transition from elementary to middle school was, for me, kind of exciting because, in my previous school, I guess it wasn't, I don't think it was the best environment. I had a lot of friends, but, others just made it a little hard for me.
Elementary school, I skipped a grade for academics and stuff, and I was having a lot of trouble not getting bored, even after the transition. So going into middle school was just amazing. Rotating classes, more choice, and the freedom really helped keep my curiosity up and my anxiety down.
Question 3. What is your most memorable experience from middle school?
My most memorable experience is probably when playing kickball. I pegged a kid right in the face as he was sliding into first, and everyone was saying I hospitalized him, so that was pretty funny. And people still bring that up and use it against me, so even more fun to talk about.
Mine is my first 8th grade advisory meeting. One of my best friends, who I didn't know then, was one of the first one to reach out to me through email. She asked for my number and put me in the grades group message. And I met a ton of people, which made it easier for me to make friends when I met them in person.
Yeah, and mine was probably the 7th grade Heads Holiday. It was just a really fun time, and we didn't have COVID, and so I just got to hang out with my friends and do stuff, which was pretty enjoyable.
The most memorable was probably all the Heads holidays, especially the one where the psychic came in.
Meeting for the first time one of the teachers that I talked about in another recording, because I guess the first time I met them, they kind of went out of their way to try to talk to me, and I know that a lot of teachers do that, but I felt like the way they tried to approach me was different than others, and it's not in a bad way. They always tried to get a reaction out of me, and a good reaction. It was always oh, I noticed this girl, and maybe I could do something to, I don't know, make her day better or something like that. And I guess I noticed that was really cool about them.
Well, I've got to go with Heads Holiday during the 2019 to 2020 school year. Basically, it was just a fun day where we did absolutely no work, no classes at all, and just went around the school playing games set up for us. Oh man, that was fun. Yeah, that was fun.
Question 4. What experience from middle school are you going to try to forget?
There are so many experiences from middle school that I want to forget, from being rejected to even just saying a stupid thing and then have everyone give you a weird look, and you can tell when someone doesn't like you or thinks what you said is weird, and I get that a lot, so that's what I would forget.
So when I was in 7th grade, one of my friends was being annoying, so I told him to stop a few times, and he said himself, and out of anger and impulsivity, I said, and it turned out very bad for me, but it was a playful argument, so it was just weird.
I will try to forget all the math buffets and the egg-sees that we had in 6th grade.
There are a lot of drama experiences that have happened in the middle school that I'm obviously going to try to put behind me, but other than that, I feel like those experiences really taught the entire middle school, or the entire grade, a huge lesson. And remembering them would honestly help us avoid those mistakes in the future.
Is choosing to skip allowed? No, dang. Then I don't know. Probably the most fun thing I will want to forget is half rejecting someone. Come on, middle school, if someone says yes or no regardless, nothing's really going to come out of it in my opinion, so yeah.
Question 5. What is your best memory of a middle school teacher?
My best memory from a middle school teacher would probably be this past 8th grade year, where I said almost said bad words 2 days in a row, and the same teacher was like, "Child, that is not a good word," and that's the second day in a row. I did stop myself, but you could still tell that I was going to say it. And it involved reality TV, of all things.
Our advisor gave, at the end of our 8th grade year, our advisor gave the whole class donuts.
And that was really nice. And also, she gave Lucy and I a hug, which was just super sweet.
Yes.
My favorite teacher memory was either in like 6th or 7th grade when we made that door in front of Mr. Zeller's room and put all the most memorable quotes in there, like Gesundheit and all of those other things.
Well, I have a lot of amazing memories about middle school teachers, but the teachers I'm thinking of, they always knew how to put like a smile on my face, especially considering that to some people I'm not that much of a smiley person. Them doing that, it just made my day.
Oh yeah, okay. So my English teacher saying "Yo yo yo, what's up, my homies?" It was slightly in context. I won't explain. It's too difficult because I legit made a remix out of him saying "Yo yo yo, what's up, my homies?" And yeah. So hint to all the teachers listening: make sure Zoom is not recording audio when you say something dumb.
Yeah, seriously, he's not lying. He made this insane beat out of our teacher saying like 8 words. So I decided to throw it in. Here's a 25-second clip from that song. The whole song was like 1:40, but I had to throw this in the episode. It's just such a good memory remembering him making it.
Yo, 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 what's up, my homies? Yo, 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 what's up, my homies? Yo, 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 what's up, my homies?
Question 6. What was your favorite middle school experience from an academic standpoint?
My favorite middle school experience in classes was making a science rap about the biomes. That was so fun, and I got an extra 5 points because everyone liked it. So yeah.
My favorite middle school experience was there were these 2 projects on the Earth's biomes that I thought I was going to flunk, but I actually did really well on.
Yeah, and then there are like the few times that I've gotten like the highest grade in the class for assignments, and that's always nice.
Yes, it is nice.
Yeah.
I'd say like in 6th grade when we took the geography bee, that was amazing.
From an academic standpoint, my middle school experience in 8th grade, it was kind of exciting for me because, I did really well, I think. I did much better than previous years.
My Shakespeare presentation. Honestly, it was just so fun, and I really learned a lot about acting as well as Shakespearean plays.
Question 7. What was your favorite middle school experience from a social standpoint?
My favorite experience from social standpoint, definitely Halloween, because you get to dress up with all your friends, and Spirit Week's pretty fun because we all find outfits to match with. But those are my favorites because you can really show your personality on different days. So yeah, that's what I really like.
Basically, my first advisory meeting can actually double as this question for my most memorable experience. So it's the same best friend thing. So yeah.
From a social standpoint, I'd say all those psych ups or whenever we'd have games, because it really brought the team and friends together.
From a social standpoint, I would say being friends with the 9th graders because, they're now 9th graders, but when I was in middle school, they were 8th graders. I feel like they're good friends, then they were really easy to talk to, apart from my 7th grade friends.
I really enjoyed the school hangout, which was basically just filled with a ton of fun time. We watched, I think, a varsity lacrosse game, and we played football, basketball. There's just all sorts of fun stuff. Food, it was great. I met lots of new people, and I made friends with a lot of them, so it was awesome.
Question 8. What was your all-time favorite middle school class?
My favorite middle school class is probably science, 8th grade year, just because it was a lot easier for me to pay attention because I loved what we were learning. More, not so much with 7th grade, but I still liked it. And I'm a really, really big fan of science. I want to pursue it later in life. So it was also easy to keep my grade up while I was worried about other stuff in classes that I wasn't so good at.
And favorite middle school teacher class was
Justice. It's the
So-
best.
because, it's justice.
Yeah.
Okay, my favorite class, like out of all the 3 years that we've been in middle school, was an X block, political and debate. It was amazing with Mr. and all those debates we'd have, like Friends versus The Office. Do women get paid more or less? Like, it was a really great time.
My all-time favorite middle school class would probably be the 8th grade class because I feel like we were more together this past year.
Latin. My Latin teacher was the absolute best. She was lax with homework, but she taught us like really, really good learning methods as well as the content itself. Yeah, the content was really good too. Yeah, she was just awesome. Latin is also so cool, even though it's called like a dead language. It's really helped me break down some complex English words, and yeah, Latin overall, like with the projects and everything, is just so exciting, so fun. I loved it. Thank you.
Maybe recess. I know that's a stupid answer, but recess. But also how close we are with each other, and like I get to spend more time with my friends because it's like a smaller area, and we just have more classes together. But because like once you get to high school, you're picking different classes, doing more electives and stuff, and so I just kind of really liked being close knit with all my friends, especially this year when we couldn't be physically close. We were like always glad to see each other.
I'm probably gonna miss the teachers in middle school, like Mr. Miss, just everyone.
Well, about middle school, I'd say I just miss my friends the most. I have friends in all grades, and I guess moving to 9th grade, you're not going to be able to see them as often, so...
What are you going to miss the most about middle school? Yeah. No. Nothing. Except like maybe hanging out with friends, but no, nothing.
Question 10. What's one thing from middle school that you are excited about not having to deal with anymore?
I am excited about not having to deal with the math class that I was in because I wasn't very good at math, and now I'm very excited to do something else in math that's probably going to be a little bit easier for me, but I don't think I miss anything else.
I'm very, very excited about not having to deal with Shakespeare anymore.
Even though I love geometry, I'm going to say I'm really excited about not having to deal with math buffets.
I'm excited that I don't have to deal with stressful assignments and also like taking classes. And summer is just so much more chill. There's so much less anxiety and stress. Like everywhere you go, you have more choice and freedom. So yeah.
Question 11. How do you think middle school has changed you as a person?
Middle school has definitely changed me because I had only ever gone to Catholic school before, and really being able to express myself and what I was wearing and like, I don't know, like not being dress coded for the littlest things has been like it has changed me the most, like, and I feel a little bit more comfortable in my skin, but I've also been a little bit less at the same time. It's definitely something that's changed me for the worse and for the better, but I had a great time expressing myself.
I think middle school has definitely made me more outgoing. And though I wouldn't say that's one of my major traits, it is something that I'm more outgoing than I used to be. And definitely more talkative. If people who know me in my cohort, I think that might be a word used to describe me. Because I used to be super quiet before I got to middle school and not really talk at all. And now I talk a lot.
Middle school has changed my perspectives on a lot of things because I came from a public school before 5th grade. And so I guess I started taking things more seriously at Dairyfield, like my leadership, my academic studies, and my sports.
I feel like middle school has kind of taught me how people can be, you know. Some people can be nice, but some people are also really cruel. They can do a lot of things. So it's just really taught me to be careful.
Middle school has changed me because it has made me, I guess, more reliable and productive with work and also with other things. Because I had to squeeze in so much homework between practice and other extracurriculars. Like, I really had to learn how to manage my time and stuff like that. Yeah, so, and then I also wrote here, it has also made my time management skills better. I think I already talked about that, though. So, yeah, middle school, yeah, I don't want to say it was great, but I definitely learned a lot from it, and it's definitely going to change how I see everything in the rest of my life.
Question 12. What's the craziest thing that you have ever seen a fellow student do?
I don't know what I can say about this because I honestly don't even know. Like, there's been so many things. Yeah. I've seen a lot. And I don't know if I can really talk about this on a child's podcast.
Look, I have no problem with you not answering the question. In fact, I thank you for realizing that maybe this experience was not something to share on a podcast that is supposed to be appropriate. However, I do not condone you calling me a child. I am just as old as you are, and saying this is a child's podcast makes it seem like I am a child. This is not true. So don't call me a child. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, next person.
There was this one time when a student threw a water bottle at another student, consequently breaking his nose.
One student decided to have a temper tantrum and throw multiple chairs across the room. And I was just like, oh, you're at the age where, that's kinda, no.
In 6th grade, during lunch, someone brought ants and ate them, and I thought that was pretty cool. They even asked me if I wanted some. I declined, but I regret it now.
I don't think I can answer that because I've seen students do pretty crazy things, and there's not really one I can pick out.
What's the craziest thing you have ever seen a fellow student do? No, we're not going to go into that.
Question 13. What are you looking forward to as you move up into high school?
I'm very excited to have more responsibility and more accountability for my own time. And I'm excited to have more freedom as well. And I'm excited to make new friends and excited to do the musicals. Very, very excited. So hopefully it works out.
I am looking forward to more independence and more privileges.
I'm definitely looking forward to the global trips in high school, the expanded X blocks, and the leadership, because I am going to participate in running for all school president and class presidents and stuff, so I'm really excited about that.
I'm mostly looking forward to new friendships.
I'm looking forward to taking a variety of classes, having choice in them too, and having free periods. It's basically like a study hall where you can go outside and do other stuff too. I really think that it's going to cut down on my homework time, and also it might be a fun chance to meet and talk with friends about projects and stuff like that's completely unschool related.
Okay, we all have differentiating opinions on this final question, number 14, which is, what do you think Clark's podcast name should be now that he is no longer in middle school? Now, we both think Clarkagons.
I think it really shows middle school or no, wait, not middle. Wait.
And
Cut this out.
a random online generator came up with Clarkable,
Yeah.
like Mashable, and I think it's pretty clever. And
Oh.
Bella also likes
I think you should do life according to a high schooler. I think, it's not so much change, but it's a lot of change.
all are very great.
Maybe my life according to Clark.
Okay, well, for this question, I honestly think it should be like the disastrous life of a high schooler or just something out there.
Life according to a God student.
Okay, so I really love the final answer to the final question, life according to a God student. However, saying that would be blasphemy, and while I support your answer, I do not support blasphemy, so unfortunately, the council will not be able to accept that final answer. Alrighty guys, so that was the end of our long list of questions. Really quickly before we move on, I just want to give a massive thank you to the 8 people who pitched in to help answer these questions. You guys have no idea how much this means to me. You guys really helped out a lot. So I just want to give a shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for pitching in and doing the work and really just making this episode the great one that it's going to be. Alrighty guys, so now that we got all those amazing answers to all those questions, it's my turn, right? I don't want them to steal the spotlight from me. I gotta answer these questions. I'm just kidding. But I'm still gonna answer the questions. So number 1. Alright, what's up guys? It's future me editing this episode, and I'm listening over my answers to all these questions, and I just want to say one thing before we get into my answers. I kind of got carried away answering these questions. I was bringing back some good memories, some funny stories, and I was just getting really into telling these stories, and that's why this sounds like, I guess you could say unprofessional, because I was kind of like rambling on and on. I just want you guys to know that this was meant to be informal. This wasn't scripted or anything. I figured that I would just throw that in the episode. Like, I kind of got carried away telling these stories in like a very vivid manner. But I had a lot of fun, and that was the whole point of the episode, to, remember these stories and bring them back to life for you guys. So anyway, back to question 1. How would I sum up my experience in middle school in 10 words or less? Oh my god. Changed from a little kid into a semi-mature teenager. That's 10 words, right? Okay. Can I describe my transition from elementary to middle school? Yes, I can. Oh my gosh. This was the biggest transition of my life. So far, at least. In elementary school, I was definitely not the most popular kid out there. I wouldn't say I got bullied, but I kind of did. I was like the nerd, I was the kid whose glasses got stolen by other kids, and I got called a nerd a lot, and I was kind of bullied. And last year in elementary school, 5th grade, I went through this massive application process, actually from the end of 4th grade to the end of 5th grade, massive application process to get myself into the school that I'm going to now, because it's a private school and you have to go through all this. You got to take a bunch of tests, you got to write essays. Massive application process. It was a big transition, and when I finally got there, I was so worried. I had no friends. I knew one person who was also going over, and we hadn't been in the same class for like 3 years, so we didn't even like talk a lot at the time. It was just so chaotic for me because I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't used to the whole private school aspect. I was just clueless. But the transition ended up being kind of beneficial because, going in 6th grade helped me to give me the time to, 6th grade was my year of getting used to the school. Then 7th and 8th grade, I was able to perform a lot better academically and socially and just, have a good experience. So yeah, that was my long, long transition from elementary to middle school. Alrighty, so question 3. What is my most memorable experience from middle school? God, that is a tough one. Jeez, there's so many. So many experiences. You know what I'd say? 7th grade, we won the Tri-County Championship for, our division in soccer, and I was on the team, and I got to play in that game. I was lucky to play in that game. And when we won, half the middle school, which is about 100 people, the middle school's 100 people, so 50 people, all just erupted from the stands, ran, and there's just this massive circle of people. And me and a couple of my friends and all the players, we were in the middle of it, and we were all just jumping up and down, freaking out. We popped a bottle of Coke like it was champagne. It was amazing. Crazy experience. Winning that for the first time in quite a while. Just amazing experience. It was so fun. The next 3 nights, all I could think about was like how great that was, and like people were always congratulating us. It was really fun. All right. So one experience from middle school that you're gonna try to forget. Oh my God. I realize now that I kind of like ask these people to expose an embarrassing story about themselves, and I'm sorry to you guys for doing that. So to make it up for you, I'm gonna tell you a story that I don't think I've ever told you. So those of you who help to answer these questions, my classmates listening to this, here you go. In 6th grade, my first day at school, I went into a bathroom, right? It was like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It was during lunch, so you couldn't tell if the light was on or off. I knocked on the door, right? Nobody answered, so I figured it was open. And, we have single-person bathrooms, and, there's no, boys and girls bathroom or anything, and no, stalls. Just single bathrooms. And I opened the door, and I literally walked in on a kid. First day at the school. To my defense, why would you not lock the door? Okay? But, yes, I walked in on somebody on my first day at my new school. And, I was definitely trying to forget that until my own question made me bring it up again. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to be trying to forget that. Stuff it deep down inside of me for another 3 years. What is my best memory of a middle school teacher? We had a teacher, he taught geography and civics. This guy was so amazing. He was my advisor in 6th grade. He was my geography teacher and civics teacher in 6th and 7th grade. And he was just such an amazing personality. He was the kind of teacher that when we got in a heated argument about something or in a debate, he would sit back and smile. Because that was his goal. His goal wasn't to lecture us. It was to, let us be free in the classroom. And I ended up learning so much from that class. Civics and geography were probably my favorite classes for those 2 years, just because, this teacher, he made it so fun, but not like we played games, but more like he let us be free. He let us argue with each other. He held debates on the daily, and he did a lot of projects that were, intense, and he even put us in, real-world experiences. We had to interview people who had just immigrated from other countries, and all this amazing stuff, and just this entire experience, it helped me learn so much, and I cannot forget about that teacher. He was just such an amazing teacher. What's my favorite middle school experience from academic standpoint? Jeez. That I have to think about. I guess, honestly, best experience was in civics class. I was in 7th grade. And the teacher who I just talked about had us do a debate. And the topic was, I think it was should they ban video games or something? Because at the time, I think England, there was something in the UK. I don't want to I don't want to get this information wrong, but something was going on in the UK about banning gaming, or I think they were trying to ban Fortnite. That's what it was. Anyway, we had this big debate, and obviously I picked the side that was no, we shouldn't ban gaming because, well, I play games. I wouldn't call myself a gamer, but I do play games. I play a good amount of Minecraft and other games. So, anyway, he had us do this debate. He gave us 30 seconds to write down a speech on an index card. And I remember this so well. I timed myself. I looked up I think the game was GTA, right? If you guys don't know what GTA is, really bad game. Shouldn't play it. Not because it's like not a good game, because it's very inappropriate. It's like 18 plus, whatever. It took me 5 seconds, or sorry, I think it was like 8 seconds. It was like 8.03. I timed myself exactly with a stopwatch. And that's how long it took me to find out that GTA was called Grand Theft Auto, and that it was very violent and negative role models. 8 seconds. So that was that was the premise of my speech. I said I went on Google, and it took me 8 seconds to find out that this isn't a good game. So why ban a game when a parent can't take the 8 seconds to ensure that their child is safe and not being exposed to this? Right now I'm going all into this debate. Anyway, I swayed the entire side. The entire side. That single speech. And I don't want to sound like cocky or like I did it all myself. Like other people had parts in it, but when I finished my speech, everyone came onto our side of the classroom. And I just felt so good. And I remember, coming home and telling my dad, Dad, I just crushed a debate today. And honestly, I still think about that. I think that was one of my greatest experiences. Sorry, I'm going on rants. But yeah, I remember that so well, that entire debate. And honestly, just thinking about that, when we think of school, we might think of filling out answers from a textbook. But I think that's something that is important, honing our skills. Maybe I won't go debating about banning gaming in my life, but it's still an important skill to know, Sorry, I'm ranting for way too long. All right, next. Favorite middle school experience from a social standpoint. Oh my god. I cannot think. There's just so many. I have had so many good experiences at that school. You know what? I'm just going to say it again. Most memorable experience was when we won that championship game. Everyone rushed on the field. That feeling, all of us standing on the sidelines. I had just gotten subbed out for the last 10 minutes of the game. And we were all standing on the sidelines watching the clock. The score was 4-2. And we were all ready. We knew there was 30 seconds left. We were about to run onto the field and scream and celebrate. And we had our arms around each other. It wasn't COVID yet. We didn't have to worry about this. And all of a sudden the buzzer rang, and just that one moment, thinking about it in my mind, just the social tight bond that we had, and that strong relationship. That team worked really well together, and just running onto that field was the premise of our season. It tied everything together. And I don't know why, but it just feels so much like a social experience for me, because it wasn't about the sports. It was about the experience. All of us cheering, all of us happy. Yeah, that was honestly my favorite experience in all of middle school, possibly all of my, school or sports at all. Okay, all-time favorite middle school class. Oh, God. Again, a tough one. You know what? I'm going to say civics. It was that teacher teaching it. And we learned about so many things. We learned, in depth about the branches of government, not just the judicial branches, the judges, the executive branches, the president and his administration and bureaucracy. We went deep into it. We had debates. It was an amazing class. I don't remember a single lecture. All it was, us learning. We read from the textbooks, and I remember actually almost every section we read. So once every couple weeks we would have a big test. And I didn't really mind this, because instead of studying, sticking my nose in the book and studying, my strategy was I would walk around my house, literally just walking around my house, kicking a soccer ball, and teaching my parents, who were both sitting on the couch, civics. I didn't have them ask me questions, really. I was just teaching them civics. And I just feel the ability to do that is just so vital, and that's, I think, one of the reasons that's my favorite middle school class. But also just the experiences we had there, the debates we had, the, ability to be free in the class, all that really tied it up into my all-time favorite middle school class. What am I going to miss the most about middle school? Man. Jeez. I guess one thing that I'm really gonna miss is, okay, I think I have to go a little bit more in depth into this one. So, in 6th grade, there were 27 people in my 6th grade class, or entire grade, actually. And out of those 27, exactly one third, 9 were boys. And it was always a thing, like, the girls double the boys. We were like the minority gender in the classroom, and it was just like something I guess we talked about for some reason. I don't know. I was in 6th grade then. But yeah, there were 9 of us. We were a really, really tight group. There was never like a time where if one of us was doing something, like there wouldn't be like 2 people playing together at recess. All 9 of us kicking out a soccer net. All 9 of us playing wall ball. All 9 of us, if there was an activity outside of school, all 9 of us went. We were really tightly bonded. And then 7th grade, it got a little bigger by like 3 boys, right? Still small, girls still actually more than doubled. This year we got even more, and next year it's just going to be such an influx, like 20 new students, and we know that like half of them are boys. And I know that we'll probably still be able to, like, of course we're going to immediately accept them into the friend group, right? Because that's the kind of people we are. We're not jerks. But, it's just going to be different, right? It's hard to do those things with so many people. And I feel like having that really tight-knit bond is going to be harder to maintain. And I'm worried that, that's going to be something that we're going to be missing a lot. But I think we're still going to be able to have a lot of fun with the new students. Still have a lot of fun expanding our group. So yeah. What are you excited about not having to deal with in middle school anymore? I don't want to like diss my school by saying this. Not at all. I love the school, great place. However, in the middle school, there's kind of a reputation for, I guess it works like this in any school, but in the middle school, the reputation is like, you're watched very closely. You're kind of, I don't want to say babied, but like you're treated like how do I say this without being offensive towards my school? Basically, like you have zero freedom, right? You're very like closely watched by teachers and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that because we're still immature young kids, and that's the correct thing to do. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but we are also young, and we'd rather it's not like that, right? Now, the other side of the reputation is that in the high school, at the school, it's the complete opposite. You're okay to have like good relationships with teachers, and they're not just authority figures, they're friends to you. They're your mentors, not just the people that yell at you when you run too fast on the pavement, right? Stuff like that. And I just think that it's known for being a lot more free up there, right? You don't have to like you can sit where you want at lunch, and I know that seems like the most minor thing, but for us it was such a big deal in 6th grade when we couldn't sit with our friends. We had to sit at the assigned table for 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks it would rotate. So just the idea of being a less closely watched, more free, I think that's something that a lot of us are looking forward to not having to deal with anymore. All right, next question. How do I think middle school has changed me as a person? You know what? I said this as the answer to my first question. I went from a pretty young kid. I'm still young, but I was a kid, right? I was a lot more of a kid. One thing about me, I was super, like, extremely nerdy, I guess. And I wouldn't say I'm not nerdy anymore. I think I'm just more accepted being a nerd, and I'm comfortable, like, saying, like, yes, I am a nerd. Not in elementary school, if I said, yes, I'm a nerd, people would, like, be jerks to me, right? I wouldn't get bullied. So one thing, like, I definitely matured a lot more. I'm less, like, crazy and, little demon running around. I'm less of that, and I think my comfort zone has definitely changed, especially in the last year. I've struggled with, mental health stuff like anxiety. I have pretty bad anxiety. But, I've used a lot of different methods recently to start coping with it. And I think that I'm definitely, just even in the last year or so, my comfort zone has gotten better, my anxiety's gotten better, it's not as bad anymore. And I think that, middle school changed me a lot in that way. I went from that elementary school kid who was afraid to do anything to, me who started a podcast, which was kind of a big leap for me. It seems like I just pressed record button, but it was weeks of, do I press the record button or not? But yeah. That's probably another thing that I think middle school has changed me. I'm not as happy about this. It could be, it's negative. But middle school also exposed me to a lot of things that, I wasn't really aware of the world around me, no technology. But now I use technology more. I play video games now. I watch more TV. And, that's not a great thing, but I also use technology to do things I had never written on a Google Doc until 4th grade. And I had never gone on, Google News until 6th grade, right? And I had never been able to, do all this stuff just because it was, at the time, for me, it was unnecessary. But I think middle school has exposed me to different things. And while some of them could be negative, technology isn't always a positive thing, a lot of them are also very positive. I watch the news and I read the news, and that helps me put out content for the podcast and all this stuff. I think that's one thing that middle school has also done for me. Okay, next. What is the craziest thing I've ever seen a fellow student do? Okay, I'm lucky I can tell this story because the student is no longer in the grade. But in 6th grade, we do this thing called Head's Holiday. Basically, the head of school says, no classes today, you get the day off. Except in 6th grade, so my first year, actually, the Head's Holiday was, we're going to go to a Fisher Cats game. So that's the local team in my area. Anyway, we go to our Fisher Cats game. And, most of the boys aren't exactly there to watch baseball. We're more there to, goof off and have fun. So we get there, and the first thing we do, we get our seats. We get food early because we're 6th grade boys and we eat a lot. And then we decided to go on the top deck and check out all the boxes and the box seats in the private rooms because one of our friends' dad had one. So we went around the whole thing. We were just checking it out. We some of the doors were unlocked or left open, so we just took a look inside. Now, this is where the story gets funny. One of the students started going inside of the rooms and stealing. There was these popcorns and chicken nuggets underneath a heat lamp, and the rest of us were nah, man, you're gonna get in trouble. This isn't smart. This isn't very mature of you. I didn't do any of this. A couple people started joining in. They would go in, and there was these bowls of popcorn and chicken nuggets, and it looked so good, and it was underneath this heat lamp, right? And they'd go and grab some and then run out. Well, they went around twice, and they had so much food, 3 meals worth of food they had been eating over this whole time. And we just went with them, we were there for moral support. We didn't do anything. There was 10 of us there, but only, 3 of them decided to go do that stuff. And by the way, I don't condone any of this. This is a bad idea. Don't steal food from people. It's just stupid. It's just dumb. I should have left immediately. Anyway, we kept on going. Eventually, the 2 boys, they went into their room, and they had already hit this room twice, right? They just wanted to go for more. They hoped that people wouldn't notice. They go into the room, and there's 10 people sitting on couches. And they didn't realize until they already had their hands in the bowl of popcorn. And I just thought this was funny. How do you not realize 10 people in a 15 by 15 foot room, right? Anyway, well, they got caught, and timing, amazing, 2 security guys walking down at the same exact time yells, "Hey." And that's the last thing I heard before me and the 6 other people who weren't stealing food bolted. I know, I'm going on a massive tangent. I just love this story so much. So, this fellow student, which I'll get more into the craziest part later, but we all just bolted, ran in all different directions, ended up meeting up on our seats. We were like worried, like security was gonna get us, we were gonna get kicked out, and we were gonna get like in trouble at school, right? Well, I wasn't going to because I wasn't stealing food, but we still ran. So we all met up at our seats, except for 2 of the kids who went into the room to steal food. And we were really worried. And the next thing we hear, we're paying attention to the baseball game. The next thing we hear coming from the announcer is, "All right, guys, it's time to pick our today's like special like student," because it was like a students' night. It wasn't just our school. There was like 8 schools there. And they picked the kid. The kid went up. He's my classmate. He's gone. He's not at the school anymore. But he went to the person who was going to be announcing it, and he asked to be picked, and he, like, I don't know why. He was, like, telling qualifications or something like that. The guy was just like, okay, fine. He put him on the Jumbotron. Mind you, the security are looking for this kid, but he still decided to go on the Jumbotron and have a camera pointed at him, and he got handed a microphone, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm a student of the game," or whatever. "Yeah, let's go." And he got season tickets, two pairs of season tickets to the Fisher Cats, and $100 in Five Guys gift cards. But the best part is that he went on the Jumbotron knowing that there were 2 security guards that watched him steal food and a room full of people that watched him take their food. And he went on the Jumbotron. I cannot get over this. It's the funniest thing. Well, the best part is, we were fine. We left, like, a couple hours later when the game ended. Nothing happened. He went on the Jumbotron, and right after, he came down and sat down with us. And we were all like, "Dude, the security's looking for you." Nothing happened. He never got in trouble. It was a mind-boggling experience. But yeah, that's that story. I think that's just an insane story. And I needed to say that. I know that's a long story, but okay. What am I looking forward to as I move up into high school? I said it earlier, but I just think because I've been talking for so long, I need to just say this quickly. The freedom is just known to be so much better there, and also just relationships with teachers. They're not just authority figures. They're not the people who yell at you. They're the people who teach you. They're the people who mentor you. They advise you into good life skills, and they are completely different from like middle school, where they have to be, it's not the teacher's fault, but they just have to be more strict. They have to kind of treat us like younger than we are to make sure that we don't make mistakes, and they like grow us up essentially. But in high school, I think we're going to have more freedom, and that's just something that I'm really looking forward to. Okay, the final question. What do I think my podcast name should be now that I am no longer in middle school? And this one kills me, because I don't know. I thought of Life According to a Middle Schooler on the spot. It did not take any time to think of that name, right? Now, I cannot think of a name. I've heard a lot of suggestions. I like the Life According to Gen Z, Life According to a High Schooler, and I just don't know what to pick. So I'll tell you what. You'll find out in September 2021, because that is when Season 2 of Life According to a Middle Schooler will launch its first episode. So, yeah, that's when you'll get the answer to that question. You better subscribe so you find out, right? If you're on YouTube, if you scroll down, there's this little box, and right next to the name of the podcast, Life According to a Middle Schooler, there's going to be this rectangle, and it says subscribe on it. And if it's red, that means you're not subscribed. But if you press that little button, not only will it turn gray, which we all know is the superior color, but you will get notified, or it will show up in your YouTube recommended every time I post new content. It helps out both of us. You never get to miss an episode. I get more listeners, and it makes me happier, because fake numbers make content creators happy. I don't know. But yeah, go down, scroll down, press that little subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. It makes me happy. Please do it. Please. 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 All right, so that's technically the end of the questions that I asked everyone. But I wanted to throw one more in for my own sake. And the question is, what is the greatest thing that came out of middle school for you? And for me, it's this podcast. I think that just the ability to tell stories like this and to show people all over the world how kids and middle schoolers feel about different topics, because having the ability to, share with people how we feel about things, a different perspective than most, has just been very beneficial for me. It's been such an amazing experience, and the reason I threw this question in there is because you guys made it such a good experience. Just the past 10 months have been absolutely amazing, and you guys have been by my side the whole way. All 300 of my subscribers, my 2,500 listens, it's all been amazing, and it's all thanks to you guys. So I just wanted to throw this in there to thank you guys so much for everything that you have done for me over the past almost year that I've been doing this. Alrighty guys, so that is the end of our massive list of questions. You got to hear some students talk short little clips, and you got to hear me rant about stuff that you probably don't care about. But you know what? That's the episode. I want to thank everyone who listened in. Thank you guys so much for 2,500 listeners. The support on the podcast recently has been absolutely amazing, and I just want to give you guys a massive thank you. If you aren't subscribed, I just said it, but you can scroll down, press that little subscribe button. Helps us both out a ton, and it turns the red rectangle into gray, which is the superior color, right? I just went through that rant. Anyway, if you made it this far in the episode, wow, you are a trooper. It's been like 45 minutes. Congratulations. You just listened to a long podcast. So, thank you very much for doing that. That helps me out a ton. That watch time really does support me. And yeah, I think that's where we're going to end the episode. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like if you're watching on YouTube. And I'll see you in the next episode. I'm Clark, and that was episode 22 of Life According to a Middle Schooler, where I talked about the end of my 3-year career as a middle schooler.